What's up, y'all? I'm back out here at the range on a hot, swampy morning. Temps already in the 70s out here, and we're gonna have some bright sunshine and about 70% humidity, so it is gonna be an absolute swamp out here. I'm gonna try not to do too much yapping so I can get things done and get out of here before it gets blazing hot. I've got a few interesting things on the agenda, and we're gonna start it out with a little copper showdown. So the jelly contraption's set up ready to go with a couple of chronos and 2 fresh blocks of gel. First testing these so you get that really clear picture of what goes on. Got the heavy clothing barrier up front with the layer of denim, fleece, and 2 layers of cotton t-shirt. And what we got here is another blast from the past with some 45 gap. Those of y'all who are not familiar, or if you are familiar with 45 gap, you know it's pretty much obsolete now. I think they do still make a few different loads, but I don't think any tools are being newly manufactured for it. So just a true blast from the past. And for this one here, we're working with some fancy copper rounds. We've got the CorBon DPX. This is their 160 grain 45 gap. There you can see brass cartridge with that nice copper expander HP. Now, as far as ballistics, again, this is a 160 grain projectile. They're saying 1,075 feet per second at the muzzle, which would give you 411 foot-pounds of energy. And I figured since that 400 foot-pounds of energy is kind of my personal mark for good 9mm defensive ammo, if I'm carrying a 9mm, y'all know I'm a plus P plus kind of guy. Again, I like 400 foot-pounds of energy out of my 9mm. That being the case, I figured we'd put these 45 gap up against the 9mm plus P plus 115 grain DPX. Now, I have tested these here in the past. I'm not sure what barrel length, I can't remember. So again, this is just more of a comparison to show you kind of the level, the 45 gap energy that it had. Here's a look at your 9mm cartridge, basically the same, just different caliber. Brass case there with that solid copper expanding HP. Now, like I mentioned, as far as ballistics, these are very, very similar. For this 9mm, they're saying 1250 FPS, which would give you 399 foot-pounds of energy. So right there at each other as far as ballistics. And then as far as what we're running them from, for the 45 gap, I've got the G37 here with the 4.5-inch barrel. And then for the 9mm, I've got my FN 509 here again with the 4.5-inch barrel. So this should be another interesting look at 45 gap and show you how it compares to a spicy 9mm. Let's get everything set up and see what they can do. All right, let's see what kind of numbers we can get out of these fancy boys. I'm gonna do a 5-round average from each one of them. We're gonna start with the 9mm first, just to kind of get a baseline of sorts. Now, this radar is gonna give you multiple readings. Your large numbers right here at the muzzle, and then you've got 5 across the bottom. The first one there is set for 3 yards, which is roughly where the gel is here at 10 feet. And then the others are set for 10, 15, 25, and 50 yards. Now, remember, this 9mm is saying 1250. I can't remember if I looked up a barrel length last time. I definitely didn't this time, but we should actually be pretty close on this right here with a 4.5-inch barrel. Let's see just how close. It's pretty light. 1239, 1282. I like to see that. 1297, definitely like seeing that. 1267. And 1265, well above what they said. Let's check out the average. All right, we're starting the day out looking good. 5-round average with that stuff right there was 1,270 feet per second. We had one that dropped to 1239, but I think all the rest were over the advertised 1250. Extreme spread was 58 with a 21.7 standard deviation. 1270 copper expander, 115 plus P plus. Ain't no doubt that stuff's gonna do fantastic in the gel. Let's reset it though and see what that gap can do. All right, let's see what the oddball can do. Now, this one they were saying 1,075, and with the showing that 9mm just put in, this stuff better hit it. It better exceed it, or that 9mm's got its number already. But let's see just how close we can get with this one. Hopefully we get there and then some. 1222, that's what I'm talking about. 1222 again. 1202, 1177, and 1185. That right there is what I'm talking about. I don't know what they got that 1,075 out of, but this stuff right here is well above that. Let's check out the average. All right, y'all, I just double checked and made sure, and it is 1,075, and that's printed on the box. That ain't off some site or something. So I don't know what's going on with that, but as you can see, well above that right here. The lowest one we had was 1177, so over 100 more on the lowest one. and then all the way up to 1222. So 5-round average right here was 1202 feet per second. We had an extreme spread of 45 with a 20.7 standard deviation. 1202, I mean, this thing heard me talking junk and said about the 9mm taking it and said, nah, hold on just a minute. 1202, and if you remember on the 9mm, it was 1270, so only 68 feet per second more with that 9mm with a much lighter projectile. So that gap definitely brought it on. All this being said, both of these things with this kind of velocity, this kind of energy, copper expanders, there's no doubt we're gonna see some good stuff right here from both of these. But let's get it all reset. Y'all know what time it is. All right, y'all, it's don't underestimate the gap or you'll be taking a dirt nap jelly time. We'll put one of each into the gel. We're gonna start out with the 9mm again first. There's no doubt in my mind, both of these are gonna do a fantastic job. Let's see what we get from them. I think I might have came out the side. Let me go check. Yep, right on out the side with that one. That was really my fault, trying to be too stingy with the gel first thing this morning. Let's see if I can move this over a little bit so we still got space to see what's going on. All right, that should actually be perfect. Let me go check it out. All right, now we're talking. That one right there looks absolutely fantastic. I'm sure that first one would look just like it too. It's probably pretty close by here somewhere. I might take a second to look. This 45 gap, it's gonna be more fantastic stuff. I have absolutely no doubt about it. All right, that should have been perfect. Let's go check these things out. All right, let's check this stuff out down here, y'all. Absolutely fantastic performance. I'm not a bit surprised. I mean, you're talking about copper expanding HPs right here, moving at a nice velocity. So it would be very surprising if these did not do well. And they look very similar. Now, the energy difference is kind of surprising, just being that they were so similar on the box as far as what they claim. But you talking about, I mean, 25% more energy, probably like close to 100 foot-pounds more energy from this 45 gap. But anyway, on the top up here, both of these are the 9mm. They would look exactly the same. There's no doubt in my mind if I run across this one right here, it's gonna look exactly the same. You can see they come in here, immediate expansion, very nice disruption, very nice energy transfer all the way through this block. You got that nice spiral disruption going on. Keeps on trucking. This one goes out probably an inch from the end. This one right here is all the way to 16 inches. I mean, it is the little wispies are touching the end of that 16-inch block. So absolute perfection right there. And then of course, dropping all the way down to the bottom, that was the 45 gap. More of the same, just more of it. Comes in here, very nice disruption again, incredibly nice transfer of energy again, all the way through its travel. This one stops actually right where this first 9mm went out. So about an inch, maybe an inch and a quarter shy of the end of this first block. And it looks like you have some massive expansion to go with that. So let's get these distance measurements. The one up here on the top, again, that's 16 inches. I mean, it might be a 1/16 of an inch, if that. That's 16 inches for all intents and purposes. And then the 45 gap down there on the bottom, that one is at 14 3/4. So once again, incredibly nice from both of those rounds. And then here's your close-up look. Again, fantastic from all three of those rounds. You can see they look virtually the same. Very nice disruption, very nice energy transfer through that block. There you can see the 45 gap, huge expansion. And then as you can see what I was saying, that little wispy, I mean, it is exactly at 16 inches. And then from the top here, it's a little bit crowded, but it gives you an idea of the disruption. I mean, all the way around. This is just some really, really nice performing copper stuff. All right, let's check out these projectiles, y'all. Once again, nothing surprising here, but once again, very, very nice performance. Fantastic expansion, very nice even expansion from both of these rounds. As you can see, I mean, they pushed the cloth. There was a little plug of cloth that fell off as I was pulling it on both of these. Absolutely no problem defeating the cloth barrier. And again, beautiful expansion from these. Very, very nice. Well, let's get the measurements on them and see what we got. This one here, the 9mm, started at 115 and we're at 115.2 grains. So pure manufacturing tolerances right there. And then your 45 gap started at 160 and it's at 160.0. So these things are exactly where they're supposed to be. And then for your sizes, we'll do the 9mm first here. You got 670 and 665. So absolutely beautiful expansion from that one there. And then your 45 gap, you got 792 and 798. So once again, absolutely fantastic expansion from both of these copper expanders. So there you go, y'all, the CorBon DPX copper expanders in 45 gap and 9mm plus P plus. Absolutely beautiful performance from both of these rounds. Now, if you're calling a winner, if you had to be picking a winner from both of these rounds right here, I think you have to give it to the 45 gap. I mean, you're talking almost 100 foot-pounds more energy. As far as recoil and handling, very little noticeable difference. The 9mm probably was a little bit lighter feeling, but again, nothing drastic because these copper rounds never have really heavy recoil. So, you know, being that the 45 gap is really no longer in the picture, I don't think there's a choice to be made here. The real practical choice would obviously be the 9mm, but if both of these were still available and mainstream, I mean, me personally, I'd give it to the 45 gap. All right, y'all, I'm gonna call it right there for a pretty good one to start out the day. I don't think there's anybody out there who would deny both of these did a fantastic job out here today. Now, again, unfortunately, the 45 gap is pretty much unavailable. You can get it, like I say, but as far as mainstream, as far as new tools, new ammo and stuff, that's a no-go right there. So practically speaking, the 9mm would be the choice, but all things being equal, if you could still get a hold of both of these and they were still mainstream, you got to give the win with that extra energy to the 45 gap. But let me know what y'all think down in the comments. Those y'all who might still have something in 45 gap or still seriously run 45 gap for EDC, home defense, what do you think about the results from this CorBon right here? If you are a 45 gap user, what do you actually carry in it or run in it? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. A quick mention again, if you're in the market for some really good ear pro, especially right now with this hot, humid weather, to beat the swamp ears, check out these Axle GS Extremes. I cannot say enough good about this ear pro. They're absolutely fantastic. I've been using these things now for right about 4 years with no problems whatsoever. I've got some affiliate info down below, so make sure you check that out. Big thanks to all my Range Gang members and every single one of y'all for supporting the channel. I've got a couple more things planned for out here today if I can get them done without melting, so make sure you stay on the lookout. And in the meantime, stay safe, stay prepared, and I'll see you soon.